Alien Highway is a little different than most UFO shows, and I think it's a great concept. It reminded me a lot of Bill Burns's old show, UFO Hunters, and so I think you did eight episodes in the first season. Um, how did that show come about?
Yeah, it's funny because I was actually on one of Bill Burns's shows, so episodes. It's funny
Yep.
that you mentioned him. It's interesting how that came around. Every now and then I'll get calls or emails from production companies, and they're trying to pitch a show, or they have something, and I was kind of toying with, do I want to do this or not? There's actually more to this story than that. What happened originally was, I signed a life rights contract with New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers over a book that was written about me called 37th Parallel for a movie.
Hmm.
And so it was a 3-year type of life rights contract. So within that 3 years, and I got so much press, it was all over the place about the 37th Parallel, that I was getting emails and calls like every other week from production companies wanting to do something. But because I had signed a contract, I kind of wanted to keep that project separate than everything else. So I held off, and the contract expired at the beginning of last year. And so I said, okay, I'm going to start looking at people or production companies that contact me. And Rick Sasson from Three Ball Entertainment, actually, that's parent company he's working for. Parabolic is the name of his company. He contacted me, and he had just left a production company that was working with Duck Dynasties. I thought, well, that's pretty good because, and then he's also had a history with Paranormal State
Hmm.
and back in the day. So, he's really up at the paranormal. We started talking over the phone. And what I liked about Rick is he basically said, Chuck, how would you do a TV show? And I said, simple, I would do a TV show like I do my investigations. I would want to portray it to the public. I would like to run it like I'm running an investigation so the public, the viewers can see it from, the point of view is this is an investigation. This is how the investigations are run. I like what I don't like is, I don't particularly like, the investigators that are sitting in the studio and they're talking about it, and then they have actors portray what happened,
Hmm.
and a lot of times they're not even, they show old footage or something. I want to be boots on the ground, like a real field investigator, talk to the real people, real places, see their evidence, try and figure out what's going on, and hopefully that plays out well to the viewers. uh, and we got a lot of really good responses from the show, from the 8 1-hour episodes. There was even a lot of things that happened in the episodes um, that really amazed me, that was out of the ordinary, and to the point where, being analytical, I was questioning the production company. I mean, there really was a case of one. There was one particular case where I was questioning production company whether or not they altered the evidence or messed with the evidence because it was so good.
Wow.
And and but as a field investigator, you know, um, you've got to really be, what's the word I'm looking for? um, leery of everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody is a suspect. And when I meet someone for the first time and they're telling me their story about what they saw or what they witnessed, the first thing I'm doing is I'm looking at their eyes, I'm looking at their facial, their face, and what they're doing in their hand gestures, and I can tell right off whether or not they're leading me on or telling the truth. And I was playing that game with the production crew too, because I seriously thought that someone messed with evidence because it was so good, and they didn't. So it was kind of fun that the investigations that we set up for Alien Highway, we set up stuff that was happening now, or as close as we could get to happening now, to try and get the evidence we were looking for. Um, you can't do that all the time, unfortunately, because it's like a fireman saying, okay, I'm going to do a show about, houses that are on fire, but you just have to wait till there's a house on fire, before. And that's
Yeah.
not how
Yeah.
production works. But
Yeah.
we got really lucky with Missouri. We went to a couple places in Missouri. We shot 2 different episodes in Missouri where there was activity. and then we shot an episode in Utah near the Skinwalker Ranch where there was activity, and in Sedona where there was activity. So these are some of the things that when I originally was talking to Rick, he says, where would you want to go? And so out of the 8 episodes, 7 of them were my idea.
Hmm.
The eighth episode, or the one called the California or SoCal clusters, um, I don't investigate craft coming out of the ocean on the West Coast because I live in Colorado.
Yep.
And that's the bottom line of that. I mean, all I can do is read about it, and sure, I know about the different hotspots over there, but I've never been able to physically do an investigation. But all the other 7, I've been to those locations, and
Hmm.
I've done previous investigations, so I was able to bring something personal to the table.
Yep. The Skinwalkers episode was the one I really loved. I mean, it was fascinating. Um, and I mean, did you come up with that the idea of the Skinwalker?
Um, I- um, well, yeah. Basically, I wanted to do the Skinwalker Ranch, and we couldn't get into the ranch, but I knew from talking with people that worked with MUFON and didn't work with MUFON, that there was activity outside of Skinwalker. Now, I know living out here in Colorado that the San Luis Valley is very, very hot. It's not one specific spot. It's just hot everywhere. If it's Alamos or Crestone, Trinidad, Weston, whatever, but it's all hot. So I knew that if the Skinwalker Ranch, like the Bradshaw Ranch, which we did in Arizona, it's just one spot that's been recognized as being hot, but it's hot everywhere. So the idea of going there, I don't need to get on the ranch. There's enough evidence from eyewitnesses saying there's a lot of stuff going on outside the ranch. The ranch may or may not be the focal point. I can tell you right now, I'm 50-50 on even whether or not the ranch is a focal point. I think there's a couple different focal points there. Uh, yeah, the Skinwalker Ranch just happens to be one of the focal points. But there's so much activity there, I couldn't wait to get there, talk to the locals, and see what's going on, and we capture our own evidence. Now, the evidence that I was telling you earlier that I was questioning was from the Skinwalker Ranch. If anybody saw that episode, I have a Moultrie game cameras, and they're a little bit higher end game cameras, and I've used those for Bigfoot investigations and cattle mutilations and stuff. But I had a couple of them set up out there in an area where an eyewitness had seen what he claims is a skinwalker. And so, if you've watched this show, you think that it was manipulated, and it wasn't. But so you see the road,
Hmm.
and it turns on, and you can see snow come down because we were in snow for like 2 months.
Yep.
And then all
Yep.
of a sudden a large coyote or a wolf just appears running on the road. And the first time I saw that, the first thing I thought was, okay, well, someone manipulated that in edit, because it just that's just ridiculous, because I know how game cameras work. They turn on from a motion sensing, and so I figured, okay, the snow turned on the camera. The camera was recording the snow, and someone superimposed a wolf running or a large
Yeah.
coyote
Yep.
running over there. And that was the analytical side of me. Right when they're showing me this, and even on film, I'm kind of watching this. As if you watch me, I'm kind of like, okay, wait, and my mind's going with this. Um, After that, after I saw that, I questioned them, and the response was, well, okay, you set the camera last night. We all drove 20 hours or 20 miles back to the hotel in the snow. you
Yeah.
know, we
Yeah.
came and got the camera this morning. The camera was in your truck. We pulled the SD card out a couple of minutes ago and showed 10, 15 minutes ago, and showed you the clip. And so I at that point I'm thinking, oh yeah, they didn't have access to it.
Hmm.
I had access to it. Oh my God, I did it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was like, oh my God. And even now when I watch that episode, I question that. But even though I know that that's what we caught, but if you don't question things, and if you don't question yourself, you have to question yourself to make yourself a good investigator. Because if you once you get to the point where you become very relaxed in what you're doing, then unfortunately you might miss very good evidence, or you may not go to the area where
Yep.
the evidence needs to be. Um, The other thing was they were looking for, okay, we need a finishing, we need to do a night investigation, for this particular episode, and they wanted to go to what we call Four Corners, that area where we captured the wolf for the coyote. That's where they wanted us to do our final night investigation, and I said no. Um, I, Based on my experience, we need to go to the cemetery because that's where two witnesses experienced a creature of some
Hmm.
sort. And then also, we actually picked up some EVPs there when we left the camera there. But the cemetery sits like here, Skinwalker sits here, and over here is the four corner, or like, not what I call it. It's actually crossroads. My
Right.
apologies. We call it the crossroads. And so if something was going to go from the crossroads through the cemetery to the Skinwalker, the cemetery seems like it's the best spot because we couldn't get the cemetery, or we couldn't get from the cemetery to the Skinwalker. But just over the hill was the Skinwalker Ranch, and then the hill next to the cemetery they called UFO Hill. So anyway, we fought and fought, with the
Mhm.
directors. I had two directors, I had a showrunner and a director, and I'm fighting with them the whole day, going, no, no, we don't, let's not go there. And they go, well, fine. You're the investigator, fine, it's your show, we'll go there. But we told you so, and we knocked it out of the park because we had in that last scene, there was something that came up on us that was on four legs, although we didn't know it. My son Daniel was up on a hill looking down at us when we're running our investigations in the cemetery, and he's using my night vision binoculars, and he could see a dark mass kind of going towards us, and he told me that. Now, he's using $800 night owl binoculars. The guy beside him using a $70,000 red camera.
Wow.
you know?
Wow.
And so when he shot that area, and really he was kind of looking to see where we were, but he wasn't focusing his eyes, or else he would have saw it.
Mhm.
And that's where there's one little scene where it looked like there was some kind of a four-legged creature coming towards us.
Wow.
And we picked
Yep.
up the growls, and then we had the lights in the sky. Now, um, where we were looking, just on the other side of UFO Hill, the Skinwalker Ranch was just a mile on the other side, and that whole area just lit up. Now, if you've been out that way, and you've investigated before, you would know that there's a lot of oil fields, and sometimes you'll get methane pockets, and they'll burn off the methane pockets to get to the crude oil. And so the first thing I'm looking at is, that's got to be a methane pocket they're burning, because that's what that glow is they're burning the methane. And I go, but that's really close. That's over by the Skinwalker Ranch. And we were near the ranch, a day before, and even the 2 days before, and there was no drilling in that area. We actually went up to the front gate, but we didn't go in. I just wanted to see what it looked like. And then I saw the white beam coming up through the center of the glow. So you have the glow, then you have this white beam coming up, and I'm going, yeah, there's no way in hell that's
Mhm.
methane,
Yep.
you know, being burned off, because why is that white beam in the middle? And all of a sudden I'm going, it's a true anomaly. And
Okay.
so we were able to capture, we captured something coming up on us. We captured that, and we captured, the EVP, or the growls, on audio too. So it turned out to be a really, really good ending of a really good episode,
It
only
was.
because I was fighting with the directors. I said, look, I'm the investigator for some reason. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I just knew that would be the place I would go. If I only had one night left in this area to finish my investigation, I would finish it there. And I think it's more, I don't want to say intuition. I think it's just based on experience, because I've
Hmm.
been doing it so long, that just seems like that would have been the perfect place, and it turned out it was.
Yep. And people watching today, I mean, do yourself a favor. You can probably watch the episode on your on-demand service through your satellite or cable, and season 1, episode 1, Alien Highway, I think it was, Skinwalkers.
Yeah, it
Um,
was. Really enjoyed that one. And it's funny because I'm sitting at home with my family watching these things on TV, and it's like I'm watching home movies.
yeah. Skinwalkers.
Yeah.